Hi guys, and welcome to this Model Engineers workshop. Today in the workshop, we're going to be making the valve rods. Come on. Hi guys, I'm the chef. Today, as I just said, we're making the valve rods. So we've got two of these to make, each made of two parts. A little bit of silver soldering involved, so it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not just a plain job. All right guys, I've got the materials on the bench. Come on. I'll talk you through it. Righto guys, here we go. Two bits of material, it's all stainless. This is 6mm, this is 12mm. So the bit we're making today is this thing. This is the valve rod. There you can see in the background, top of the screen. The valve is just going to be moved. Of course, the mount that moves is controlled by the Walschaerts valve gear on the locomotive itself. So what we've got to do is we've got to get two bits of this 6mm, so one here, get them down to length. Clean up the ends, just a little bit of a chamfer on them, nothing too serious. Out of the 12mm, we need to clean the end off, of course, to square that off. We then need to drill and ream a hole in the end so that the rod fits. And then we're going to cut a bit off, make two of those. And then by then we have two embryo rods. We have two heads, I'll call them. They're actually going to be part of the mechanism with a pin through, so it all joins all together to further down the line to where the wheels go round and round. And then they need to be silver soldered to length. We then need to hold this in a collet chuck in the lathe just to make sure that the back of the head, I'll call it, is nice and clean and square. So that's one operation. Then we need to spin the whole thing around, turn this 12mm down to 11, and then after we've done that, got the end all squared off nice and tidy, we'll be making things big on and get them to size once the silver soldering is done. Over to the mill, again, hold this in the vise, and then we need to mill it flat into a section. I think it's like 6.5. I'm just checking the drawings as I'm talking to you guys. Yeah, we need to get it down to 11 thick in its total maximum, and the tongue on it needs to be 6mm. So you can imagine that we need to just turn this down, all down to 11, and then we need to take off what we're taking off, about 3.5, 4.5 on each side, keeping the tongue here in the middle, and we then need to drill a hole through there and put a little bearing in it. And then when all that's done, we've just got to mill a flat on what's sticking out of the valve rod, so that these little grub screws here have something flat to clamp onto instead of the round. And of course at the back of the cylinder, let me just move things around, we have the tail guides we made in a couple of videos ago. Oh, heavy. This tail guide, we need to have a flat in there. So of course, once this gets full of oil, eventually you're going to get to the point where you go forward, it's going to push any air or liquid out, but of course then it's going to create a vacuum. You're not really going to be able to pull this back. So we need a flat on there to allow air and oil, air and muck to come out and air and muck to go back in. Okay, simple really, but somebody thought about it, because they've obviously had one of these things lock up. Right, so 6mm, 12mm. I'll get this to length, probably use that one as well. I don't think this is long enough for two anyway. There's no point just doing that. It's just a case of making a mark, cutting it off, clean up the ends in the lathe, and then those two are done. When I get to putting this in the lathe, the 12mm, I'll start recording the video again. All right, guys, see you in a bit. Righto, guys, so here we are. Two embryo rods, just cleaned off the ends, put a little chamfer on at the moment. The other end, this end goes into the connecting bit. This is the tail, this is the head. I just double check the drawings, good job I did. We need 4mm diameter by 8mm long to actually go into the head to be silver, to help with the silver soldering and alignment, I take it. Right, so those are done. I've got the 12mm in the lathe. I'm just going to face it off, and then we've got to drill a 4mm hole and ream it by 8 deep so that these can go in. And then we need to part it off at 22.5. It would be the actual length, 23 to allow for a bit of cleanup later on. Okay, so I'll see you over at the lathe in a minute, guys. Here we go. Righto, guys, so here we are. 12mm in the chuck. I've just faced it off. So what we're going to do, we're going to put a nice little center in the end of that. Move that out of the way. We're then going to drill a 3.8 for 8mm, and then we're going to go in with a 4mm drill just to get it to the right size. Just going to, and of course I'll know I'm at the bottom of that when I feel it, so let me just mark up this drill. Doesn't seem to be that critical that the valve rod has a shoulder on it, so to kind of stop it dropping too far, I suppose. Right, so drill's all set. Let's just make sure we've got the drill chuck tightened up. We do now. Right, here we go. Let's do this. That's the bottom. It's literally to clean up that hole. Yep, there we are, that's the bottom. Right. Now I've got one of the valve rods. Let's just have a look, see. Okay, that's going to be a tight fit, I think. I wonder if I've got a slightly bigger drill. All right, give me a minute, guys. All right, guys, not quite sure. Must be just a good fit, I suppose. So, 4mm on the valve rods, 4mm drill. I've just checked everything. This is now 4.2. It's probably going to be sloppy as, but we're going to be silver soldering it in place. So it'd be good to leave some space for the silver solder to get to. Right, let's try this one. There's the bottom. Oh. Let's try that. It looks a lot bigger, doesn't it? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's quite loose. But as I say, that's going to be for silver soldering very shortly, so I think we'll leave it at that. Yeah, let's leave it at that. What's that like? Oh, it's also pretty hot, so it'll shrink down a little bit. Mind you, when it's all warm in and flame of the... So for silver soldering, it'll be red hot anyway. All right, guys, let me get this part set up for parting off, and I'll bring you back. Righto, guys, so parting tool in the tool post, dimension set. So just did the usual touch off with the far, well, as far as you're concerned, the far corner of the tool. The tool is 3mm thick. We need 23, so 26, 23 plus 3, 26. I've set that on the dials, and just going to slow this down a little bit. Let's go down to that one, to about 700 RPM. There we go. And I've got the coolant spray bottle in my hand, and I'm just going to part this off by hand. This is a new parting tool, so it's a big chunky thing, so let's hope it can get through this. Here goes, let's have a look. No, I think, yeah. That tip just died. What is it with stainless? God knows. Now, that might be bloody hot, but I think I can probably... No, I'm going to have to hacksaw that off, but okay. Got most of the way through. Yep, that tool, that insert is absolutely... Where is it? Yeah, it's chipped. Okay, right. So, next, I've got to make 2 of these, so I'm going to hacksaw the next one off and we'll part it. We'll turn it down to size. All right, guys. When I get those 2, I'll see you back on the bench. Righto, guys. So here's the setup for silver soldering. I've fluxed everything, cleaned everything, of course, fluxed it. And I hope you can see just there, just the tip of the end of the silver solder. I've got one little chunk, smallest I can cut off. Round the back is another one. So I'm going to have this on a blowtorch on a big flame to start us off, and just till the flux boils away, and then we'll increase the flame till we get a good hot flame. And I'm going to be working my way from the bottom, heating up the bottom part where it's the thickest, because of course it's when the solder melts, not when you let the metal melt the silver solder, not the heat, the flame. So I'm going to be basing my heat pretty much around the bottom, a little bit up the top, just to even things out. And when I see that flash in, I'm going to add a little drop more from the little piece left in my hand. All right, guys, not my best thing is silver soldering, but let's get it done. Here goes. There we go. Just get this on a nice big flame. Just to, there we go. You start seeing it, the flux boiling off. That little piece of silver solder's bubbling around. Oh, here we go. Right, now we've got the water out of it, we can adjust the flame. There we go. Hopefully you can hear me. Just keep the flame onto the heavy part. Starting to get somewhere close now, guys. There it goes, did you see it? Just going to reach in. There we go, that should do it. Right. There we go, guys. Now I'll just let that cool to black. Looks pretty good from here at the moment. And oops, then we'll get that into the pickle and get it cleaned up and see how we did. All right, guys, see you in a bit. Righto, guys, there we go. 4 pieces now become 2. Silver solder together. Hopefully you can see, is it going to focus for me? There we go. Nice, fill it all the way around. Nice. Fill it all the way around. Now, do we clean the back of that off is the next question. We could leave it. It's not going to affect anything. Because of course, to clean the back of that off, I'd have to hold this in the chuck. And then I'd have to have some kind of steady on this end. I've got an idea for that. Am I going to do it or not? You know, I'll get these to shape and size and holes and everything. Then there's nothing left really. No, okay, right. I'll get set up and I'll show you what we're going to do. How we can support that end, no center. Just literally for 10 seconds. Cheap and dirty method. On the lathe. All right, I'll be back soon when I'm over at the lathe. Here goes. Righto, guys. So I've got one of these mounted in the chuck with the valve rod through the spindle bore. And of course, this has been silver soldered, so it's going to be anything except concentric. Yep. So let's just have a look, see how it goes. Oh yeah, she's got a wobble on her. That's good. Okay, right. So what we're going to have to do first, the drawings state, I suppose specifically for this course, start with 12, turn it down to 11 to get it clean. So of course, what we're going to do is we're going to turn all of this down to 11. So let's just get that started. And once we get this down to 11, I'll do the same on the other one. And then we'll come back to how I'm going to support that long tail. Because of course, by then, all of this will be, give or take, concentric with each other. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Here goes. Let's just have a look, shall we? See how we're doing. Oh, we're not far off now. Look at that. Just that one little patch there. Let me just get the Veronese. Let's see how we're doing. We're probably down to maybe 11 and a half. We're only taking like 0.1, 0.2 off at a go. Maybe closer than that. Oh no, we're doing well. We're at 11.6. Right, let's get that piece off and then get it all down to 11 in nice and evenly. Here goes. Almost. A little bit of squeak on it. Okay, let's do another one. All right, let's have a measurement. That shouldn't be far off, maybe 11.2 by now. And just leave it at that, really. And we are on 11.225. I'm going to polish that down, I think, with a bit of emery. Right. I'll get this polished down, get the other one at the same stage, and I'll bring you back soon, guys. Righto, guys, there we go. Both hands now turned down to 11 and given a little bit of a polish just to make them look pretty. So that's nice. Nice and smooth. A little bit squeaky. I think it was probably springing a little bit. And I don't know if you can see this one. You can see where we turned originally, the center. You can see how far that moved during the silver soldering. So it was good to be able to hold this in the chuck and turn it down to get it all concentric and looking tidy again. Right. So now over to the lathe, I'll show you what we're going to do. So when we're holding that one's still bloody hot. Holding this in the chuck, so we can just take the slightest cleanup over here because it's a bit rough and ready. Yeah, can you see that? Yeah, you can. Just the slightest cleanup. So of course, holding this in the lathe chuck, we need to be coming in from this side, but this end is going to be floating in the breeze if we're not careful. So what we're going to do about it? Right, off to the lathe. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Righto, guys. So a piece of scrap brass in there. No idea what the diameter is. Just going to clean off this face. You can see where it's been parted off something else. So I'll just get that faced off. You've got to love turning brass. You really have. Really is so easy. Right, now, sense drill in the drill chuck. Just sorry for the hands at the minute, guys. Just tighten that up now. There we go. Okay, here we go. Let's get this put in. Nice little center. Now, the next thing we're going to do, I'm just changing out, is we're going to put a 6mm hole through that. Now, of course, the spindle itself, the valve rod, is 6mm. Now, drills are notorious for drilling holes bigger than they really should be, which in this case is what we want. Let's just give this a try, shall we? 6mm drill, 6mm shaft. There we are. Quite a bit of slop in that. That's okay. That's what we want. Now, can you see? Have you any idea what I'm going to do, guys? Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take that little piece of brass out of the chuck. We're going to put it in the drill chuck at the other end and use it as a bearing to support the other end of the shaft so it doesn't flap around and get caught on things and beat the Jesus out of us. If you've never had that happen to you on a lathe, you ain't lived. Right, now, let me just move. I don't think you'll be able to see too much. Or will you? Let me just move that out way. Okay, yeah, you can just see here at the end of the drill chuck, I've got that little piece of brass. So, let me just move that back out of the way. I put this very gently into there we go, into the chuck here, just so I can get enough to the back of there. And I can then slide the tailstock up, get the tail end of the shaft into that, lock it down, and I can just gently ease the jaws tight on the lathe. It will probably squeak and complain as we run in this. Let's have a think. We need to go back up in speed a bit. Let's go to an A3. I'm just going to put a little drop of oil, if I can get any to come out of the oil can. Yep, there we go. Just on that bearing, just to help it slide. And it's going to be running for like not even 2 minutes. I just want to take, all being well, if I can get past everything, I might just need to angle the top slide a little bit. Yep, going to have to. Let me just unbolt it. Just want to take a facing cut. That'll do us. Just to tidy up this back face. I know you can't see what I'm doing, guys. I'm sorry. Just trying to get this done. Now I've just got to change spanner. Spin the tool post around to get me some clearance. And this time, all being well, here we go. Yep, we should be able to get all the way in. Yeah, look at that. Lovely. Right. Let's do this one. What we're on, 700 RPM. So, brass in the drill truck, bit of oil, here goes. Put on a feet, put on a cut. Yep, a little bit more. That's more like it. Just to tidy up just a fraction. Use the carriage. There we go. Wind back out. And that, as they say, is that. Right, I'll do the other one. I'll probably just take a couple of still photos just so you can see what the setup is here, guys. And when I get the second one done, I'll see you back at the bench. All right, guys, see you in a bit. So, there we go. Hopefully the photos have come out and you've been able to see what I meant. I was holding the little brass bearing, I'll call it. And you're going to focus for me. Come on. In there somewhere, the focal length. Yep, there we go. You can see, taking most of the silver solder off. Just clean them up just enough to make it look a little bit more presentable. Right, there we go. Yeah. Next job, off to the milling machine. We've got to mill some flats on these to form where the eye goes for the valve gear. And eventually we need to drill that hole through, of course, and make everything the right shape and size. And then, of course, most of this length, about half of it actually, just over I think, gets a flat milled on it. Well, that's going to be exciting. All stainless steel, so thank God for carbide tooling. Righto, guys, I'll see you at the mill in a little bit. Righto, guys, so here we go. Got the valve rod tail out the back, that way. This is the head, call it. So this is held in a collar, not held by much, and held in by about 5 mil, 11 mil diameter is this. So it's not a lot to hold on to. Carbide cutter in the mill. So we're going to bring the material over to the cutter, just touch off on the end, set the zeros on the DRO. We're then going to come up and over and do a touch off on the top. And then we're just going to take very light cuts. So this is 11. We need to end up with 6. So we're going to take 2.5 off each side. So we're going to go 2.5. We'll be measuring when we get to about 2, just to make sure we're keeping things central. And of course, this is a square collet block, just at the back here. And so, of course, theoretically, we can just flip this over, just reset the end and the depth, of course. And we should be able to end up with a 6mm tongue, 14.5mm wide. 14.5mm deep. And then we just got a hole to drill in there and round off the ends. And then we can move on to doing the next operation, which actually takes part on the actual shaft of this valve rod itself. So we'll get this into roughly like eye center position. Looks about right. I will just put a 0 on there just to remind myself. Gonna power it up. It's going to get noisy. Little light touch off. Come up and over, touch off, and then we know where we're at. Okay, so here goes, guys. I'll probably just take a couple of cuts with you, and then I'll get this side done. Then I'll get both sides done. At that point, you know what I'm going to be doing. And then when we get around to drilling the holes in these, then I'll bring you back at that. So here goes. Got to get noisy. There's touch off, setting 0, come down, come in a little bit, start bringing the table up, keep looking for the witness on the top, there it is. Set that 0, find out. And let's go a 0.2 cut and we'll take a look. Very light cuts because it's not held on by much and it's going to spring. Right, here goes. I'm going to get close to that collet. Nope, that's for sure. 14.5 is target. Oh, we've got plenty of clearance. 14.3, 4. There we go. Right, line back out. The witness mark looks good at the moment, so let's take another cut. Getting back up to the 14.5. I'm just looking at the DRO now, guys. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. Can you see that witness? You can. All right. There we go. You'll be able to hear me again now. Right, so the witness is looking good. That's just 0.4 off the top. Got to go down another 2 mil, 2.1. I'll go down 2 and start measuring just to make sure we're going to get this tongue in the middle. All right, guys, when I get the other side done and we're ready for drilling the hole for the bearing, I'll bring you back at that. All right, guys, see you in a bit. Right, guys, there we go. Matter of a few minutes work. That's now 6 mil thick, that tongue. Hopefully, as far as I can tell, and by a quick look down, put my head on the mill table and had a look along it. It looks like it's pretty central. Right, so this is still, as much as you can't really see it, it does feel slightly springy. So I'm going to drill the hole. We've got to drill a hole in the middle of this width, of course, and 5.5 mil back from the end. I'm not going to risk trying to drill through that as it is. I'm going to reset the mill and drill it differently. Okay. Right. Give me a few minutes. I've got to reset the mill and I'll bring you back when I'm ready to do the hole. All right, see you in a bit, guys. Righto, guys, so here's the setup I'm going to use. Got a big chunk of scrap steel out here, and I've got a little scrap of steel here. So the bottom flat, I'll call it, is resting on the flat of that steel there. You can see the end of it there with where a big drill's been going in. So we're pretty much guaranteed perpendicularity. That's a damn good word. And it's not going to spring because it's actually pressing down on that block of steel at the back there underneath. This is just holding the whole thing in place. It's nice and rigid, nothing's moving. Excuse me. So what we're going to do, center drill, we're then going to drill out the 4.2. Now this does get a little bearing pressed into it. Now because of that, I'm going to go through, this is a 6mm end mill, little carbide end mill. So I'm going to slowly, going to take this down and through. The only thing I can think that might happen here is eventually, once it does break through it, it might just kick this piece of steel about a bit. So I'm just going to hang on to it when we think we're getting close. Right, guys, so let's turn the speed up a bit and let's get this hole put in. Here goes. Now I know it's not regularly advised, but I'm going to put this little end mill in the drill chuck, and instead of using the handles on the squill, I'm going to use the little slow drive, so I can take this nice and steady. All right, here goes. Actually, let me just check that again. Nice and tight. Okay, here goes. Must be getting close to getting through. Here goes. Yep, I can feel that. Okay. Right. As you saw, or maybe you didn't, but I had my thumb here. I think you probably did. I had my thumb holding on to the backing steel, and I could feel when we got through. Right, hang on, let's just pop this out and have a look-see. Right, loosen the chuck, loosen the, there we are. Oh yes, that looks nice, look at that. Okay, right, what we've got left to do on this now is we've got to mill a flat on here for all those little grub screws that hold the slide valve on, and then we're going to have to round these corners off. The obvious way to do that would be to do it on the rotary table, but that thing's bloody heavy, so I'm probably just going to do these in the vise and file them off, make them look pretty. They won't be very exact, but there must be some kind of mating part that goes over that, so you're probably not even going to really see them. Okay, right, let me get these on the bench and we'll have a think about what's next. See you in a bit, guys. Righto, guys, here we are. Just on the other one now, so we've got two. So there we go. Down to 6mm on the tongue. Looking really good. I'm actually liking the look of these. These are nice. Okay, right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set one of these in the mill vise. Get this as vertical as we can, or close enough anyway. And mill a flat on there. For, I don't know how long? Let's have a quick look at the drawing. We need 765. So from the end, we need to come in 65mm and mill a flat that's about 3mm wide. Just something big enough to give the grub screws in, I don't know, hoik one out, there we go. Just to give something for these grub screws to bear down on. All right, guys, give me a couple of minutes and I'll get that set up and I'll bring you back when I'm ready. All right, see you in a bit. Righto, guys, here we go. So this is the setup I've come up with for milling the flat on this valve rod. 2 bits of just scrap underneath. Another 3rd bit here, so this is now acting as a pusher against the rod. So there's plenty of pressure on there. That's not moving anywhere anytime soon. Of course, this flat has to be relative to the sides that we've milled here on what will be the head of this when I round it off. And so as you can see here, got a couple of 1, 2, 3 blocks, got my square on top of those, and so I've then held everything tight while I've tightened up the vice jaw to make sure that's as square as I can get it. I'm sure there's a little bit of leeway in the angle. It's not going to make any great difference. Right, now, over here, this is a 4mm carbide end mill. I've touched off on the end. We know we need to go 65 along, and we need to go down 0.3 of a mil. So this is where it gets nerve-wracking. So I'm going to power the mill up. Of course, for small cutters need a higher rev. So I've got the machine set as high as it'll go, which I think is about 1500 RPM. Going to keep just gently going until I get a witness, a touch off, and then we're going to go down 0.1, go along, go down 0.1, go along, go down 0.1, and go along. Now, 4mm cutter, 6mm rod, that gives me a millimeter between the scrap, between the center line and the scrap, and a millimeter spare between the fixed jaw and the scrap. And the valve rod, that's not scrap, that's for sure. Right, let me just reposition the camera, zoom you in on the cutter, and I'll be right back. Righto, guys, so there we are, got you zoomed in a bit more now. Gonna power up the mill, so it's gonna get noisy. Just gonna go very slowly till I get my touch off. Wind the cutter clear, put on the 1mm cut, put to 0.1 mil, and then use the power feed and just go very slowly. I'll be watching the DRO just so I can see when I get close to my 65. Bring that up to length by hand and then wind back and do that 3 times. All right, guys, now this is going to get noisy and the machine's going to be running, as I say, about 1500. I think it is the max on this machine. So, excuse me, here goes. That's touch off. Right, 0.1 on a cut. I'm going to just wind that clear a little bit. Hang on. Right, give me a little bit of a run up. Here goes. Nice and slow. That's 30 mil. $40. $50. You've got to get to 65. 60. That's 64. Just take it by hand now. That's 65. That's the next cut put on. Here goes. Just take a gentle run up to it. That's the end of the second cut. Third and final cut now. There we go. That was left an absolutely beautiful finish in there. Whew, that was nerve-wracking. Okay, right. That looks really good. I'll get the second one done and I'll see you back on the bench. All right, guys. See you in a bit. Righto, guys. There we go. A few minutes have passed and got them both done now. As you can see here, I could use something to point with, actually. It's probably better than my big old finger. Yeah, so I'll just use this. As you can see here, you can see there's a flat in there at the back here. You can see the flat there. Of course, that flat means that that rod, when it's running in that bushing, that tail support, can't and won't bind, won't lock. So you can imagine there is just room there to let any moisture, water, or oil out. All right, now I'll zoom you back out. I can. Yep, we can indeed. Let's go a little bit further. There we are. So that one's just temporarily installed. Here's the second one. As you can see, nice flat on that as well. Yeah, you can just see that, can't you? Yes. And look at that for a finish. I mean, that is lovely. That was nerve-wracking. 4mm carbide end mill, and I've never run the mill that fast, but it certainly did a good job. That's almost like a mirror finish, isn't it? Right, guys, give me a minute, and we'll bring this video to a close. All right, guys, see you in a bit. Righto, guys, that brings this video to a close. One valve rod, the other one's on the bench just over there. They've turned out really well. I'm not going to round the ends of these off just yet. I've got an idea on how to do that. Something a little bit different that might give other model engineers, or you guys too, of course, an idea on how to use probably a piece of tooling that we all have, but don't really use a lot of. It's just kind of a little bit out there, but I'm just going to have to think it through. So, might be a few weeks before you see that one. Okay, right, done. Really happy with these. The silver soldering went well, the turning went well, the little bushing idea for in the lathe, which is still over there in the drill chuck actually, worked. It gave support. It didn't have this flapping around in the air. It might be a good idea for some of you guys too. Simple but effective. Right, so I'll bring this video to a close. The teeth aren't working today. I'll bring this video to a close like I normally do. You can find it in your heart and soul to give me a like and a subscribe. Don't forget, both of those count. The likes count more because it puts this video in front of like-minded people like you and I. The subscribes are for me because it's the motivation to get back out here in the workshop. Again, as I normally say, if you're a watcher and you've got this far, I've no idea how long this video is going to be, to be honest. Please give me a like or subscribe, or even a comment. Just say, looks good, doing well, or vice versa. If you don't like what I'm doing, let me know and we can talk it out. All right, guys, this is the chef saying, see you later.